I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Algeria.
شكرا السيد الرئيس. يود وفد الجزائر.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Algerian delegation wishes to support the statement made by Iraq on behalf of the G77 and by Equatorial Guinea on behalf of the African Group. We fully support your efforts, and we will spare no effort in order to achieve the priorities that you've set out for 2025. Based on the roadmap that you briefed us on, please allow me to specify the following points. On an economic, social and development level, first of all, it is necessary to preserve the interests of Africa in the international economic and financial system, which will enable us to bolster our position internationally. Our priorities consists in continuing financing for development to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda, and we hope that the fourth session of the Financing for Development Forum will deal with this issue positively. Next, the process to implement the recommendations of the Pact for the Future is essential in order to promote sustainable development. It is necessary to ensure technology transfer for developing countries in order to reduce the north-south gap in this area. Thirdly, the adoption of the United Nations Convention on International Tax Cooperation in order to establish an international tax regime that is equitable in order to fight against tax fraud and evasion is absolutely crucial. Fourthly, the promotion of the rights of women occupies a key place, especially in light of the 30th anniversary this year of the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Programme of Action on the Condition of Women. The Summit for Social Development, which will be taking place in Qatar, will, we hope, not only improve conditions for women, but also for all segments of society in the world. 5. Under the South African presidency, there's going to be the G20 summit in 2025 that for the first time will be hosted on African soil. This is extremely important because it's going to be focused on strengthening climate resilience, financing for clean energy, and dealing with the issue of debt. We're convinced that the South African presidency will strengthen Africa's position on the international stage and will support African participation at the G20. In terms of security policy, first of all, the fight against terrorism remains our priority, in particular for Africa. We must continue to cooperate closely in order to eliminate this threat. This requires more coordination between regional and international efforts, including cross-border cooperation, information exchange, and the elimination of the sources of financing of terrorism. In this context, and aware of the importance of this issue, Algeria has made the matter of terrorism in Africa the focus of the main event of our presidency of the Security Council this month. That's taking place on the 21st of January. Please allow me also to inform you of the fact that Algeria has also organised a high-level meeting to deal with the situation in Palestine. That's going to be on the 20th of January, given the importance that my country attaches to putting an end to the tragedy that the Palestinian people continue to experience. Next, it's necessary to continue to mobilise resources for lasting and adequate financing for efforts in Africa. Resolution 2719 on financing African peacekeeping operations is important here. We must ensure that we make the most of this momentum for solidarity and sustainable development. Next, in order to deliver peace efforts, the review of the peace-building architecture is taking place in a context of growing challenges for peace and development. This review should enable tangible and effective progress to be made in peace-building efforts, whilst at the same time ensuring that it is in line with needs on the ground and aligned with the priorities of member states. Fourthly, it is necessary to strengthen cooperation between the United Nations and the African Union, in particular between the two councils tasked with peace and security, through a common vision of the different challenges and the right solutions to meet them. We need to make optimal use of resources and ensure that all comparative advantages of each organisation are made the most of. And the role of African countries at the Security Council is crucial in order to promote the priorities of the African Union. The annual high-level meeting that's taking place in Oran in Algeria offers up a platform to ensure coordination between the African members of the United Nations Security Council and the Peace and Security Council of the African Union in order to amplify the voice of Africa at the UN. Fifthly, it's time to ramp up the reform of the Security Council. The African Union, through the Committee of the 10 Heads of State and Government, will continue its efforts to put the common African position that stems from consensus, the Eswatini consensus, to place that at the heart of this reform process in order to correct the historic injustice against the African continent. Our common future depends on our capacity to unite and to cooperate to implement sustainable solutions to the different challenges that we face. Algeria will continue its efforts to play a constructive role by working with everyone in order to promote peace, security and sustainable development in Africa and in the world. Together, we can build a better future for present and future generations. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Algeria